Good morning and welcome to Unity of Wilmington. We have a big crowd in here today. That's so great to see so many faces. We'll begin with Unity's Statement of Being, which I totally remember. Yeah, there it is. Okay. There is only one presence and one power, active in the universe and in my life, God the good omnipotent. Also, thank you for those who are joining us online or possibly later in the week. I want to remind you of 3 divine truths. One is you are a beloved expression of God. You are here for a holy purpose, and you're always in the right place at the right time right now. Before Paul sings his first song, I want to introduce Dr. Reverend Ellen Contente. She's going to be with us the next 3 consecutive Sundays and probably helping us out on down the line as well, so you'll be seeing a lot of her. Reverend Dr. Ellen is a licensed New Thought minister. She has been the interim minister for CSL Santa Clarita and Bakersfield, California. Dr. Ellen has also been a frequent guest speaker at CSL Lancaster in California, as well as in her past home center, the Global Truth Center in Westlake Village, California. Dr. Ellen holds a doctorate in spiritual studies, a master's in spiritual psychology, and a Bachelor of Science in Management. She is the founder of Heart-Centered Programs, a training and coaching company that empowers people to live with purpose, passion, and play. She is the author of the Amazon best-selling book, M&M's, Motivational Musings to Live an Inspired Life, as well as her upcoming book, Lessons from the Cast, 10 Spiritual Lessons I Learned from Breaking My Ankle. Dr. Ellen now resides in Wilmington, North Carolina with her husband of 23 years, with her husband, her 23-year-old twins, and her 3 cats. 25 years with the husband. Okay, so the math checks out. That's good. Thank you.
Come with me, and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look, and you'll see into your imagination. We'll begin with a spin, traveling in a world of my creation. What we'll see will defy explanation. If you want to view paradise, simply look around and view it. Anything you want to do it. Want to change the world, there's nothing to it. There is no life I know to compare with your imagination. Living there, you'll be free if you truly wish to be. If you want to see magic lands, close your eyes and you will see one. Want to be a dreamer, be one. Anytime you please, and please save me one. Come with me, and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look, and you'll see into your imagination. There is no life I know to compare with your imagination. Living there, you'll be free if you truly if you truly wish to be.
Yeah, actually, let's give Paul another round of applause. Talk about a real gift. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you. Oh, wow. Good morning. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Unity of Wilmington. Welcome to all of you that are watching online. And what a beautiful crowd this morning. Now, before I get into the lesson today, I do want to say a prayer of protection. It should be up on the slide there. Yes? No? There we go. This is on the website, and I thought, what a beautiful way to start this morning. So let's all say this together. I think this is so important. So, the light of God surrounds us. I am light. The love of God enfolds us. I am love. The power of God protects us. I am power. The presence of God watches over us. I am presence. And wherever we are, God is. I am divine. So let's just take a moment and just really embody those words. Thank you. So, this month, actually, this entire month is about transitions. And it is March, and I grew up in the Northeast. March was known as the month where it comes in like a lion and goes out like a lamb. Although March 1st, it was, I think, 80 degrees, and it came in like a lamb, and it feels like a lion right now, roaring. And, many times, that's what happens in March. I mean, that's what transition is all about. We're transitioning from winter to spring. And, we might expect a change in the seasons, but one change that maybe we weren't expecting is, and I'm sure a lot of you weren't expecting to see me here this morning, right? The change in your leadership. And while we can expect different changes, right, some changes are more challenging than others, and we do have to transition from one season to another. And, the Unity of Wilmington is in a transition right now. But it's not the first transition that you've been through, right? If you go to your website and you read on your history page, right, before Reverends Mindy and Reverend Nikki, there was Reverend Richard, and I believe then Reverend Russell, and then Reverend Renee. There's an R theme going there. And then how many of you were here even prior to that? Okay. Then there was Rose Murgy? Rosemarie.
Jim Rosemary.
Okay, see, there we go. And that back in what, 1975. Right. So transitions, we're always in transition. And one of the things that I did read on the website as well is this statement that was on the site. And in this present moment of leadership transition, we know that we are here at the right place at the right time right now, which is what you also shared in the affirmations. And so we are always at the right place, at the right time, right now, unless you forgot to turn your clock ahead. Right? I almost forgot to turn my clock ahead, but thank goodness our clocks do it automatically now. Now, when I was young, I used to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning to turn the clocks ahead or back, because that's what they told us to do on the news. They said, remember to turn your clocks ahead or back at 2 a.m. And I got up at 2 a.m. to do that. It's still a running joke in my family. They literally still make fun of me. I'm sure I will get a call later today asking me, Ellen, did you get up at 2 o'clock this morning? Right? Well, we no longer have to get up to turn the clocks ahead or turn the clocks back. Right? We are springing forward into hopefully warmer weather, although I definitely didn't feel like springing forward this morning out of bed because it was cold. Right? It was cold outside. Right? But just like the weather kind of goes back and forth, right? So do we. And we don't always spring forward. Sometimes we recoil like a spring. We retreat back to where it feels warm and safe. And we stop ourselves from doing the things that we really want to do because we don't believe it's the right time or the right place. And when I was, before we moved here, we got here, I think, in September, I had been planning to move out of California for maybe 15 of the 17 years I lived there. But it was never the right time or the right place. We couldn't figure out where to go. And at first it was, well, we're just going to be here for a couple of years. We'll see if, the acting thing takes off, and it doesn't, we'll go someplace else. Well, after a couple of years, we actually were, involved in our community. We were quite happy there. But we knew we wanted to leave out of our apartment. I always wanted to raise my kids in a house. But I'll just say that the prices in California and my prosperity consciousness weren't quite equal. So the challenge was, okay, where to find a place to live in California? And then it was, well, I don't want to pull the kids out of school because we could walk to the elementary school. That was great. So it was like, all right, I'll wait till they're in middle school. Well, in middle school, I don't know what was going on. It was the wrong time. So then it's high school. Now they could walk to the other side of town and walk to high school. Plus, I didn't want to pull them out of high school because I know how traumatic that move can be, because we moved when I was 16 from New York to Oklahoma, which was a very traumatic move. And I didn't want to do that to my kids either. So it was never the right time or the right place, but eventually we started embracing this idea of wanting to do something different and live someplace else. So we started looking at different places. We actually started in California. We went north, and then we went further north to Oregon, which is beautiful, but it wasn't the right place. And then we came out to North Carolina about 4 years ago-ish. And we started in Asheville, which was beautiful, and then we went to Charlotte, which we liked. But again, not the right place or the right time. Eventually, we made it to eastern North Carolina. And we went to Raleigh and Chapel Hill and New Bern, and eventually we found our way to Wilmington. And after a long process, obviously, we made the decision and we moved here. But even still, being here, that change was overwhelming. I remember waking up in the middle of the night and thinking, oh my God, what have I done? What have I done? Right? The only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it, and join the dance. Right? You have to jump in when you make a change. And that's what we did when we got here. We jumped in. I think I'd been here maybe a month when I found our way to the center here, Unity of Wilmington. That was one of the first things I did actually before I came here, was look up, okay, where are there New Thought churches? Right, where can we find a spiritual community? We also joined the local, or I should say I, joined the local Y, and because I like to swim, and went Planet Fitness with my son, and meet-up groups, and, the running club, and basically looking for places where we could, have a community. Because change can be really difficult. But change is the event that happens, right? The transition is that process. It's that period of time for us to get used to the change. So if you're trying to make sense of your own change, right? So making sense of a move, get in, to the community. If you're trying to make sense of this new change here at Unity Wilmington, well, we have a transition committee that's making sense of the change, right? If you want to get used to the change in weather, well, make sure that you either have a coat or an umbrella or a storm shelter. It was pretty scary yesterday, right? It was pretty scary. And there's, just like the weather can go back and forth, so can we. We waver in our decisions, right? Am I making the right decision? Oh, no, wrong decision. Oh, let me try to. It's like this back and forth dance sometimes that we do as well, and we're really not sure what we want to do. It's like a coin. As a matter of fact, I brought what would this be called? It's a quarter. A prop. That was the word I was looking for. A prop. I brought my prop. So I was thinking about this, and I thought, okay, well, we traditionally think of coins as having two sides, right? The head side and the tail side. But really, there's three sides. So if the tail side of your coin, and if you're watching online, go ahead and find a quarter or a $50, whatever you might have. Right? So the tail side is your past. Right? It's, what we were living. And we want to transition to the future, where we want to go. And just like a coin, right, we can either roll forward, right, spring forward, or we can retreat back and roll back. I know it made more sense when I was doing it in my head, but rolling forward or rolling back. And it's really up to us to decide, right? So if we really want to make sense of change, we have to be willing to transition through what we're feeling. Right? There's stages of change. There's shock and denial. That's how I felt when I first got here, even though it was something I wanted to do because it was just so overwhelming. And there's resistance, right? We're like, oh, fear, let me go back, until we finally move into exploration. Like, oh, wow, this might be good. This might be fun. I might really enjoy this. So that is the lesson that we're talking about, that life is always transitioning. We're never standing still. So we have to be willing to transition at every stage of our life. And if your heart is open and you have an open mind, the blessings will follow. Right? The blessings. And because we are always transitioning, right, we are always getting older. Right? As much as I would like to be sweet 16 again, well, maybe not 16, 35. 35 and holding. Right? But it doesn't work that way. Right? So the blessings of getting older is wisdom, gray hair, and I bless my gray hair right before I color it, which I did last night, but I always leave a teeny bit right in the front to remind me of who I am. Right? And as much as I would love my kids, who are going to be 23 on Thursday, I wish they were babies again sometime so I could hold them and I could play with them. But maybe there'll be a blessing of grandchildren one day, God willing. Right? But we are always transitioning. We're transitioning from, actually, I was thinking about this, being pregnant, right? 9 months before we're born. And, we transition from childhood through adulthood. We transition from, all those years in school to our careers. And then we transition in our careers until, we retire. We transition from towns to towns, and I have moved all over. Right? We transition from one country to another. My husband's originally from Cuba, and I'm sure how many of you are from another country? Right? Yeah. And as well, I know wherever you're watching online, hello to Denmark, my dear friend. Right? So when we bless what is and we find the blessings, right, It doesn't matter if we have gray hair or no hair, right? The blessings of no hair. You don't have a lot you have to do. Or one of my closest, dearest friends, and I asked her if I could share this story. She's been my prayer partner for 15 years, Caressa. And she lost her hair to alopecia. And she went through those stages of shock and denial initially when her hair was starting to fall out. And then, of course, resistance to what was happening, wearing wigs. And she had a beautiful head of red hair. And that was actually her email address, head of red. Absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous, right? But she went through that resistance of wearing wigs. And then finally, one day she just showed up in our class, I think it was either practitioner studies and she was bald and gorgeous, just regal. We call her the queen. Just absolutely beautiful, embracing the blessing of her beautiful head. Right? So at every stage and every age, there's a blessing. So you notice in this picture here, that budget moving van. That was actually the van that we came here in. That's a 26-foot van. My car is on the back of that with our two bicycles. You can't tell how long the van is, but it was huge. And if it could breathe, it was sucking every breath in so that we could squeeze every inch of our stuff into it. It took us 5 days to pack it so we could get everything into it. And so my husband was driving the van, and my son and I are driving his car with our 3 cats. So that's where the picture was taken from, in that vantage point. So 5 days to pack, 5 days to drive here, transitioning from one town on one side of the coast, right, Pacific coast, all the way here to the East Coast in Wilmington, where I'm now receiving the blessings of a beautiful new community. And I recognize the blessing of standing here in front of all of you, right? Blessings. So we have to be willing, right? Every stage to find the blessing, no matter how difficult it is. We have to take the time sometimes to transition from what was old to where we want to go. You know, think about the caterpillar. The caterpillar wants to become a butterfly, but it doesn't just wake up one day and it's, ooh, I'm a beautiful butterfly. It has to transition and build itself a cocoon. And in that cocoon, it has to dismantle its past. I mean, it literally consumes its body. It's like a horror movie. If you've ever really looked inside of a cocoon, it dismantles itself so that it can emerge anew. So some changes look negative on the surface, but you'll soon realize that space is being created in your life for something new to emerge. And so the butterfly instinctually knows that it needs to be in that cocoon so that it can emerge. Beautiful, new, and ready to fly. And so what in your life right now, what looks like on the surface is negative? What might look negative? Maybe you've, lost a job. But what new can emerge from that is maybe a new career. I mean, I actually lost my job 10 years ago, 15, I don't remember exactly, but 12 years ago-ish. Had I not lost my job, I would have not sprung forward into creating a new business. Heart-Centered Programs was born because I wanted to do something different. What about if on the surface you're going through a divorce, right? Or maybe you've lost someone. On the other side of that could be a new spouse. I went through a divorce and I found my husband and I have 2 beautiful twins right? Something new emerged from that. Right? And what seems scary sometimes, being in a new place, not really knowing your way around, not really feeling like it's home yet, well, the blessing there and what new comes out of that is a new community and new friends. Every time I moved in my life, I went through the same transition. Right? Fear, doubt, anxiety, oh my God, what did I do? And I look back over every single place and I think, oh my God, had I not married the first husband, I would have not gotten to Florida. If I didn't go to Florida, I would have not met my soul sister, Nina. Had I not left that husband, I would have not gone to New York. I would have not met Jose. I would have not had my twins. I would have not met Carissa. And I go back over everything in my life, and I realize everything was there for a reason. I was always in the right place at the right time, even though it doesn't feel like it sometimes. Right? We're always wanting something different, something better, something bigger. Sometimes it's things that we've been thinking about for a while, it's bubbling up. Spirit is always in us, moving us forward. Sometimes it shows up or it reveals itself as divine discontent. How many of you are discontented, not contented, discontented with some aspect of your life? Anyone? Everyone? It's okay if you put both hands up. That is spirit within you moving you forward. Right? So whether you are discontented with your home, right? Maybe you want to spruce it up or move. If you're discontented with your health, right? It's time to start eating healthier or exercising or getting more sleep. If you're discontented with your relationship, whether it's to another person or to yourself, right? What wants to change? What wants to come forward? What wants to emerge anew? Divine discontent is good, even though it doesn't always feel good, because spirit is always moving through you. We can never not be creating. And so while it's good to be comfortable and stay within the comfort and safety of our homes and our blankets sometimes, or our towns, we do want to merge new. We want to spring forward into doing something different. Light precedes every transition, whether at the end of a tunnel, through a crack in the door, or a flash of an idea. It's always there, heralding a new beginning. So no matter how dark it appears on the surface, when you feel like you just want to stay in the hibernation of winter, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. So no matter what difficulty you might be facing, whatever change just seems overwhelming, right, you can transition through it. It's a process, but Spirit is there with us. Are we willing to accept that Spirit is with us, always protecting us? Yes? Yes. Are we willing to spring forward into our lives and not retreat back when it gets scary? Yes. Who's with me? Yes. Right? Let's spring forward. And if I could borrow the lyrics to the song that Paul just sang, anything is possible. Right? It begins first here. And then it begins in mind. Because everything starts in mind. If we want to manifest anything, we have to think it first. We have to imagine it first. So if you want to view paradise, simply look around and view it. Anything you want to, do it. You want to change the world? There's nothing to it. So let's close our eyes. Let's imagine that beautiful world the world that we want to create for ourselves, because it is here, it is now. Anything you want to do, anyone you want to be, any place you want to be, you are there in mind first. Go there, be there, feel it. It is about feeling. Creation is a feeling process. Think it, believe it, feel it. Spring is here. Summer is around the corner. And then fall and winter and repeat. Life is always transitioning. We are always moving forward into the next stage and the next stage and the next stage. Living our lives. Living it with joy and vitality, with truth, with peace, with kindness, with forgiveness, and with love. And it is with love and gratitude that I know this paradise exists for everyone on this planet. And so let's all just imagine that right here, right now, and know that we can never be any place other than where we are meant to be. We are always, always in the right place at the right time. Take another nice deep breath in. Release. And together we say, and so it is. Amen.
They say you're the king of everything, the one who taught the wind to sing, the source of the rhythm my heart keeps beating. They say you can give the blind their sight, and you can bring the dead to life. You can be the hope my soul's been seeking. I wanna tell you now that I believe it. I wanna tell you now that I believe it. I do, that you can make me new. Oh, I'm an empty page, I'm an open book. Write your story on my heart. Come on and make your mark. Author of my hope, maker of the stars, let me be your work of art. Oh, write your story on my heart. Write your story, write your story. Come on and write your story, write your story. My life, I know it's never really been mine, so do with it whatever you like. I don't know what your plan is, but I know it's good, yeah. Wanna tell you now that I believe it. I wanna tell you now that I believe it. I do, that you can make me new. Oh, I'm an empty page, I'm an open book. Write your story on my heart. Come on and make your mark. Author of my hope, maker of the stars, let me be your work of art. Oh, write your story on my heart. Write your story, write your story. Come on and write your story, write your story, write your story on my heart. I want my history to be your legacy. Go ahead and show this world what you've done in me. And when the music fades, I want my life to say, I let you write my story, write my story. I let you write my story, write my story.
If you've been moved or inspired, please consider donating to Unity of Wilmington. For those of you here, there's a basket in the back. For those of you online, we have Venmo. You can donate on our website or going to Facebook. For those of you that aren't here, let's do the mudra. You guys remember it? Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive, and so it is.
I'm an empty page, I'm an open book. Write your story on my heart. Come on and make your mark. Author of my hope, maker of the stars. Let me be your work of art. Oh, write your story on my heart. Write your story, write your story. Come on and write your story, write your story. Yeah. Come on, write your story, write your story. Yeah, write your story, write your story, write your story on my